Next question is about my wheelhouse. So, welcome to my wheelhouse. This is about coding
Okay.
and AI. True or false? AI generated code has been proven to be better than 75% of human coders.
Now I gotta think about the personalities of all these human coders.
The humanoids that tested this,
Yeah, I was
perhaps.
like, if it's based off that, I must say that's true. But I am actually gonna go out and say this is false.
Final answer?
Yeah,
Yep, it is false indeed.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, so I have to ask, what's your reason?
Because I think there's more room for error, and I think humans actually are able to kind of work around some of the more complex problems. It could happen maybe one day, but I think it's still in that learning process, and I think code in general is a very super complex, issue that they kind of have to work with. So there's just like a lot more facets that might be harder to just kind of do with AI.
So I would definitely agree with you. I think your intuitions are exactly on point. I personally use AI while I'm
Okay.
developing. Something called GitHub Copilot, which a lot of you at home probably recognize if you're into development at all. And the entire ecosystem for GitHub Copilot is phenomenal. It will almost like an autocomplete. You know, when you're typing something in and you have an autocomplete feature, it'll try to finish the sentence for you.
Hmm.
GitHub Copilot does that for programming.
Okay.
But of course, there's so much to programming. It can be confidently wrong about some things. And it takes
Yeah.
somebody who knows programming to look at it and say, well, that's wrong, but half of it's good. I'll take out the part that's not good and I'll keep the part that is. And you have to have that discerning eye. You have to have
Yeah.
someone whose specialty is that field to look at it and know when it's wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also just thinking about it, also from just like a standpoint of like looking at things that the AI has written, and like so, like my side of things is like writing blogs and articles and just captions and doing all that stuff all day long.
Right.
So like when I see it written, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, we're kind of half right. Some of that's right, some of that's wrong. So I kind of also kind of I think assumed in that form as well. So that's kind of also it's just like it's not perfect.
No, it's not perfect, and I will say it definitely gets better over time. It gets better.
But yeah, so like they have like sections now, like basically the more information it's given, the better it can learn. But I think that's like just how humans work.
Right, right.
The more information we're given, the better we get. The more practice we get, the better and stronger we get at it. So we're just kind of like I think expecting something that's kind of like a baby to,
Right.
to like to know everything.
Now, one place where GitHub Copilot is actually super helpful in the development sphere is it is good at recognizing patterns, right? So if I want to create a list of things and I'm defining those things in a particular way,
Okay.
after the first or second one, I hit enter, it sees how I'm defining things and gives me
Okay.
that same format. So you can almost imagine it like for each of those lines, it's saving me a sentence of typing, right? So your productivity just kind of goes through the
Well,
roof.
and with code, it's almost like there's also your own styles of code, correct? So there's like different styles within it,
Yeah, there's definitely different
like just
programming
like just
styles.
like almost like different writing styles,
Yeah,
like in general.
yeah, for sure.
So that makes sense. Also, why it can never be probably completely accurate either,
Yeah,
because you're
100%.
going off of like
But
maybe 10 to 15 different styles of coding.
I will say, I don't think I could imagine a world of going back to not having it because once you're so used to having like full sentences, when you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
First, know what you're doing first, then use a tool like this. And when you get to that point where you're getting full sentences or paragraphs automatically completed, the thought of going back to typing out a full paragraph, it just seems dreadful. Like,
Well, and I'm
why?
sure it allows you to kind of even save certain code structures as you go too, because some things can be copied and paste, correct?
Yeah, and not only that, but I guess really in the same area as being copy and pasted is there are design patterns in development, right? So data structures have a particular pattern to them in the way that the mainstream will develop. So all your large companies that have developers, whether they're working in a code base on React, et cetera, like React will have a certain way that the framework likes you to code. And if it's a popular framework, like React as an example, any developer who wants to do a feature, you could just write a comment that says, I need to add a hook that does a behavior. And you tell in the comment what you want the behavior to be. And then he would hit enter. And because there's so many people using React, it can gain that context and a lot more accuracy.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.